Good evening, friends. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, hobos and tramps, cross-eyed mosquitoes, and bow-legged ants. This video is a heroic restoration of this 1964 Fender Deluxe Reverb. So, if that sounds interesting, hang tight. There will be a sound demo of all its functions at the end of this video. I detail all the innards and the repairs that were done. And yeah, it was pretty close to a basket case, but now it sounds great. It's kind of like finding a 64 T-Bird that had just been parked when it was new in the barn and just left there. So I've got this baby up and running and sounding great. So yes, hang tight, watch the video, or skip to the end and listen to the sound demo of its functions. Your choice. Thank you for watching. Hope this helps. What in the name of all that's is this? Is this what's rapidly becoming called the Holy Grail? Fender Electric Deluxe Reverb. Now this one looks not too bad from the front. It's a 64. It looks not too bad from the front, but it's a horror show in the back. Let's pop it around and see what we see. Wow, is this a mess? Someone's been tweaking on the rust with sandpaper. You know, I've seen worse, but not that survive. This one's gonna survive. Here's your original cord. You got a couple of blown tubes, which I'm gonna pull out of here and toss right now. Unfortunately, this was a Mullard, but I'm throwing it out. It's toasticles. Bye-bye. Ditto that for this beautiful brown Sylvania. Toasticles. Black plate Sylvania. We got another one there. That one looks okay. See what else we got here. Oh, missing in action. Huh? Whoop. Aww. Aww. Ah. There's a Mullard. Aww. And we got, looks like maybe an RCA. I don't know what that speaker was, but it is all it's gonna be. Yeah, you got the reverb tank there. Unfortunately, the tube chart missing in action. That's too bad. Probably the mice that got at this speaker maybe decided to nibble on the tube chart. I may get a repro, I don't know. Missing the back panel. The Tolex doesn't look bad, it's just dirty, but man, this looks like it was in a rusty basement, but it doesn't have any mildew smell at all. It doesn't smell. It looks like maybe it was in a humid environment for a while, and then it was moved to a very dry environment, like a barn or something, because there's no mildew at all. So I'm gonna pop open the I'm just gonna cut that cord and then pop this open and take a look inside. One more thing to note, no screws holding it in, and these have seen better days. I have some originals that I'm going to use to replace this. Look at that. Nope, no coming back from that one, I'm afraid. How about over here? Probably not. No nuts on any of them. And yeah, this one is welded to it, and this one's not. These are done. I'm not going to try and salvage those, mainly because they're just routed out. That one maybe. That one maybe salvage. Not really though, because the metal is gone up in the top there. I'll put them aside for future consideration. And this looks like completely, what is that? Man, rust. It's got some surface rust, but it is completely original. Now the gentleman that sold this to me told me that he had fired it up. I freaking doubt it. These caps are just done. It's going to be quite a challenge getting that rust out of there, but I will do it. The one thing I can say about this is it is all original so far. I doubt he fired this up. Well, he may very well have. He may have gotten the pilot light to work. You know, because of the blown rectifier, none of the high voltage would have gone to the caps, theoretically. Man. Yep, it just got a little bit of rust. We're going to have to sand and vacuum, I think. Maybe try some navel jelly. I don't know. I'm going to research this a little bit. You know, it's rough with these wires going everywhere. And I don't want to disconnect the wires. But it looks like it never suffered any catastrophic meltdowns or anything. You know, these resistors here, sorry, these resistors don't look like they were blasted with heat. You know, they look yeah, they look okay. Let me flip it over and take a look at the what's left of the filter caps, because these are toast. Look at the, you can see like for instance, particularly this one, you can see all the gunk that oozed out here. He said, the gentleman that sold me this also told me that he tested the caps. His buddy tested the caps. Really? I said. What did he test? Oh, voltmeter. No kidding. You tested these caps with a voltmeter, huh? Cool. I wonder what it showed him. Okay. So it looks like the gentleman that sold me this was tweaking all over the place with sandpaper. It looks like somebody sanded all of this. Fortunately, they didn't sand the serial numbers off of here. We got all 606. Oh, look at this one. This is a 65 right here. I don't know if you can, yeah, 606.5, 7th week. So this is an early 65. I mean, it was made in 64. You know, I'm going to call this a 64 because all of the other ones. Reverb transformer, 32nd week of 64. Output transformer, 47th week of 64. Little choke, 606, 47th week of 64. And then early 65 power transformer. So it's a 64 pre-CBS. Cool. And here we've got some pretty sad filter caps. Oh boy, pretty sad. He fired it up though. Okay, nice. Well, this thing, this amp, I am gonna bring it back from the dead, because that's what I do. And you know, I'm glad he did all that work. You know, because it was probably pretty ugly under there. So yeah, and yeah, he's you know, he did okay. You know, a little rougher sandpaper than I would have used, but what the hell? All right, stay tuned. You know, the internet is a mixed bag. I've been looking at rust removal and vinegar. I'm going to try vinegar in a spot. I put it out to the hive mind on one of my amp forums that I'm on, and within minutes I got this astute response: "Don't do it." Thanks for the non-advice. Anyways, I disconnected the power supply, or sorry, the AC cord, and I hooked up my ohm meter and dialed up the variac, and all the AC voltage is working just right on this nice transformer. So I think this thing just blew a couple of tubes and sat in a basement. One of my favorite expressions. So I looked online, and I did actually look online, and I saw this one guy that had a Fender amp that was way worse than this one, and he did an absolutely heroic restoration, but he completely dismantled everything. I mean, he took every single component and wire and everything out of the amp, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to spot test some vinegar here. I'm going to try vinegar, let it soak with the cotton balls for 24 hours, and then I'm going to light sandpaper where I can, and deox it in WD-40 and call it a day, I think. So we'll see how it looks after 24 hours. Speaking of deox it, I'm going to take the time while this is soaking to thoroughly spray deox it and clean all these pots. I know they need it. I'm just going to kind of probably have to do it several times. We'll see. Well, crap, here's an annoyance. The tweaker, whoever was screwing with this thing, forgot to take the damn, or return the screws to the pots, to the knobs. So every one of these pots is missing the screw. Nice job. By the way, here's a negative review of this deoxit. Since they changed the nozzle, look at this. More of it leaks out of the nozzle than actually gets at your work. And I'm sure that's planned. Nice job, deoxit. Not. Watch this. Spray. It appears to be going in there. Now look. Nice, huh? Every can I've tried does that. I'm going to try some of this. on there. It's safe. It says it safely removes tough rusts. All ingredients biodegradable, targets the rust, safe for surrounding areas, non-toxic and acid-free. Maybe, I'm gonna give it a try. The vinegar, you know, it's doing pretty good. I'm gonna try this other WD-40 stuff. So I think the plan moving forward is to clean the area that I'm working on and kind of just go from there. Just kind of go across, cleaning the area I'm working on. All right, this WD-40 de-rust thing is working pretty good. I've got the bias board and the pilot lamp out. That's one of the more troubled areas, and I got the cotton balls soaking for 24 hours. And here's some of the cleanup. Not too bad. You know, it'll be all right once I'll hit it with some WD-40, I guess, or oil or something. I don't know. It's a long process, but hey, I'm not in any big rush. It's a good way to get zapped, rushing electronics. Yeah, I'm just gonna drill those screws out. They're toast. Toast. Look what I discovered. Looks like a 1965 stamp there. And some original screws, which are going to go in the de-rust bath. Yeah, the speaker doesn't look too bad, other than the freaking busy bee, under the influence of some kind of craziness, sanded the freaking thing right off. But oh, the cone's still good. No, it's not. That's toast. Whoops, look at that. Whoa. I wonder if the speaker is worth. Is it worth it? I'll let the viewers decide if this is worth reconing. I'll have to do a little research on this and see what the hell it is. I think it's a CTS Oxford or something. Here's a view of the cabinet. It does look like it got some moisture, but for some reason that particle board looks solid and good. So yeah, it does smell a little mildewy in here now that I'm getting in here, but not too bad. Well, this is a sad state of affairs here. Looks like there's a little bit of termite damage there in the whatever you call these, the little stanchions or whatever that the back baffles or the back covers. These are going to be replaced. And sadly, there's a little bit of termite damage up here, inside here. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to actually, there's some damage here. Termites have gotten in there. So I'm going to cut a piece of my Fender. I have some Fender cabinet wood. I'm going to have to probably do that, but that's down the road a little bit. Just want to report on a little bit of the news here. Damn termites got a little bit of this cabinet. Nothing major or structural. The joints are all super solid. I've checked them, so we'll see how that turns out. Meanwhile, look at this cotton, the rust that these cotton balls are soaking up with that de-rusting stuff. I don't know if you can see it in here. Let's see. It's been getting in there. You can't. It's been getting in there, and Still got a ways to go, but I can scrape in there and get that out of there. And we got some parts de-rusting here. I'm usually gonna give this about 24 hours. Yeah, sure. Those termites decided to even have a little taste of the cardboard covering on this reverb tank, which looks freaking pristine inside. And on the outside, whoop, on the outside, a little bit of rust. I will be treating this at some point. Not a huge concern. I have a funny feeling that this reverb tank is perfectly fine. I'm actually gonna stick it in my other. I actually have another 64 Deluxe Reverb. I'm gonna plug it into that and just see if it works. I bet it does. It might be awesome. Wow, after 24 hours. Look at that, that was pretty rusty. How black the water is, the water solution. All right, pull these out here and wire brush them. All right, here's what the bolts, nuts and bolts look like. Some of them came out really nice. I mean, that was rusted to hell. Look at that now. They're all kind of in that kind of shiny gray kind of thing now. Yeah, so those are acceptable. As long as this bias board is out flapping in the breeze, I'm going to rebuild it. It's cleaner. This is like, I think this is pretty much the worst area inside. And yeah, I think I might ground the AC cable right there, maybe to the bolt here. This is going to be a cleaner ground here. We'll see. All right, I got that bias board and pilot light assembly back in there. Got rid of a lot of the rust. It's still got it in there without taking this whole thing apart and freaking sandblasting it. That is what it is, and it's going to be fine. Promise. I'm trying to experiment. You know, this board is bulged way up here, and so I gradually hit it with a heat gun and gradually clamped it down. Heat gun, clamp, heat gun, and it seemed to go down. And I'm just going to leave it like that for 24 hours and see if it does anything at all. All right, so the heat gun and the clamp seemed to work really well. It held that board down. Here's what the other one looked like, way ½ inch off the deck, and then this one's nice and flat now. Time will tell if it goes back. We don't know. All right, I got this one heated up and clamped down. And then I'm going to have to do the end. The end popped up a little bit. So we're going to, I mean, I can just screw that down, but I think I'm going to heat it and clamp it down first. Alrighty. I'm going to go back over here to my rust treatment. Yes, sir. In another video, you may or may not see where I bought this giant mid-60s Fender solid state cabinet with like 4 32 ohm speakers in it, and I robbed the wood out of it, making another cabinet, and I've got the Tolex somewhere, and I'm hoping I can get these off in one piece to replace the bracing that's in there for the back baffles. It's glued and stapled, so I'm gonna try and save it all. Oh yeah. So I got this reverb plugged into my Deluxe It works just fine. That's great. The good news is these new screws fit the old knobs onward. You know, after working with this rust, I'm reluctantly agreeing with some of the assessments online, and that is, and I'm not willing to do it, and that is take all these original joints, loosen them all up, take the thing completely apart, freaking grind it, replate it. No, this is always going to be a player grade. I'm just reluctant to disturb all these original joints. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to forge ahead, replacing components as needed, and see if I can get this thing up and running, get a speaker in it, and put it out there for people. Put it out there for people's perusal. You know, it's a player grade. I'm worried about. Well, I'm not worried. I'm just going to forge ahead and see which way is where. In other good news, this is measuring both sides of the output transformer. 223.7 and 227.46. That's good. You know, the more I work on it, the more I think this thing was in really perfect shape when it was stashed in the cellar, Grandpa's cellar. Look at this. Both of these are like, both of these resistors, these 10K resistors, are just perfect. So I'm going to just go ahead and dive in and replace all these electrolytics. According to the schematic, these are 16 at 475, I believe. And I'm putting in 22s at 500. This stuff, you know, with the modern voltages, 475 on a deluxe with this in, you know, it surges for a minute up to quite a bit more than 475. I'm gonna just feel good about putting these in there. Here's one of them. They put them in backwards so you couldn't read them. So this was what was on the facing out, and not backwards, just kind of upside down or facing inward. 16 at 450. I'm going with 22 at 500. That's going to be a good little upgrade there. And this body, you can see bulging. They just leaked from lack of use, I think. What a shame. What a shame. Criminal neglect here. I'm not even going to save these. I'm tossing them. Well, I'm putting them in a bag, and then I'm going to put that bag in the back of the amp for the future owner. And that's the state of affairs on this brisk January 2024 Monday morning. I'm going to button this back up. This is looking good. I'm going to button this back up and flip it over and put the little 25 at 25s in, hunt down an AC cord. Here's the back panel from that glorious mid-60s solid state cabinet, and I'm trying to non-invasively get that Tolex off of there. because I'm coveting it for the back panel that I'm going to have to make. Yes, it's peeling off nicely, and I can tell they used hide glue. It just has a certain feel to it when it gets wet. Okay, I took the death cap and the ground switch out of there, so no one will stick their fingers in there or futilely switch it back and forth. And I'm going to return it to the owner, me. Alright, I got everything wired the way I like it. Got green soldered directly to the chassis. White is just going to the courtesy plug on the wide slot, and then right back to the transformer. Black is going to the tip, or sorry, to the courtesy plug first, from the courtesy plug to the to the tip of the fuse, and from the fuse to the switch, and then from the switch it's going to the transformer. And the standby switch is untouched, and the ground switch is removed. So it's looking good. Now on to the 25 at 25 caps here. I'm going to replace all those, and then I'm going to start hunting for tubes. I know some people don't like this, but rather than pull these wires out and disturb all these soldering joints, I'm just going to make little loops here and measure these, make loops, and just wire the new ones in. I will touch these solder joints up just to make sure they're good, but I'm not going to rip the wires out and resolder them, blah blah blah. It's just it doesn't look as neat, but you know, I'm not doing the stuff the sleeve routine here, so I'm just making loops here and wiring everything in like that. Those of you that don't like it, lump it. This one's toasty. I wouldn't plug that in. And that's just from sitting, I think. Nice little cap. Cute. Here's a problem. I'll have to replace that right away. Whoops. I might have screwed that up clamping this down. Probably. That's alright. I got more of those. Moving along. There, I replaced that with a 470. Didn't have a 500. Moving along. This one's got a nose on it. Starting to get excited here. Got these all new electrolytics wired in, filter caps underneath. I'm going to do right now, before I do anything, is I'm going to plug it into my Variac with no tubes in it and just measure voltages across the AC spectrum, as it were. Just measure AC voltages everywhere, and then we'll start our new TV series, Tube Hunt. All right, we have a glow there and no glow there. I'm going to measure the high voltage. So what I do is I measure the measure the 5 volts there at the yellow, measure the high red voltage, and then I go all the way down here and see if I got my 12 volt going down all the way. And if I don't, then I go follow it back up. But let's not borrow trouble. Let's measure the voltages. I'll report back in a minute. Nice 5 volts. That'll wake you up in the morning. That's my high voltage unloaded. 6.8 on the last preamp tube. Excellent. Okay, I've turned this up with just the rectifier tube in here. No glow at all. On my current limiter, the rectifier tube's glowing nicely. The pilot lamp's glowing, so I'm going to measure the high voltage here and see what we have. Alright, this is at the rectifier, or the filter caps. There's 464. Nice. Nice. Looks like we got negative 50 on the bias. Alright, I'm going to continue on and get some tubes and plug it in. Don't forget the discharge. This is turned off right now, and still got 400 volts there. Discharge the... Okay folks, this is unrehearsed. I've got an array of tubes all plugged in. Got a speaker, 8 ohm JBL speaker. Got my signal generator. And plugged into my current limiter. I'm going to crank it up to about 50 volts here. The pilot light is just starting up, and there's no current glow from the current limiter. Volume is turned down over here. I'm going to go up to about 70 volts. And I see a faint glow from the preamp tubes. Nothing from the current limiter. Pilot light's lit. That's good. I'm going to go up to, being cautious, going up to 90 volts here. No dead shorts, no weirdness happening here. I'm going to go up to 117. There we go. We're at full power here. Can't tell if those... I'm going to just... Wow. This amp is so dead quiet, and volumes working, treble, bass, reverb. Whoa. Let's see what happens if I short out the tremolo pedal. Okay, no tremolo. Probably got a bad bug, because I don't see the bug lighting up. Alas. But that fucker, that sapsucker is nice and loud, and reverb. Yeah. All right. Time to shut it down and go to work. So oftentimes when a circuit doesn't work like this, I'll go ahead and touch up all the solder joints relating to that tremolo circuit. Here's your, your dog chasing his tail caps, and some of the resistors, and I'm touching up the And look at that. That's the leg of the little bug. A broken leg on the bug. Ah, okay, need a new one. Sad, sad day. Don't think I have one, so I'm going to have to order one. That puts this on hold. Alrighty. But I'm optimistic about the rest of it. It's sounding good. Now I'm going to start to tackle the unpleasant task of removing all these staples, getting the Tolex off of the front of this thing, and seeing exactly what the carnage is underneath. Well, the news is not great. The devastation of the front is pretty bad. And a little bit on the back too here. The joints are solid on both sides. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Am I going to replace that whole top or piece in some pieces? I have to kick that around. All right, I got a nice double corrugated heavy-duty cardboard screwed onto the two wood strips for this, and I wire brushed it. Got some of that rust off of there. Yeah, maybe I'll spray it with something, maybe a clear coat of Rust-Oleum. Interesting, this number here, there's no Accutronics number on here. There's some obscured number there. Anyways, it works nice. I'm going to set that aside as I work on the cabinet. So I'm going to check the bias now. I got my, what I call my Guru 6V6 in there, and I'm going to get the bias set and then see what I can do about finding a match set for this amp. Now that's a nice match right there. Nice set of Kenrads. I'm going to leave those in there. I'm going to sacrifice those. That's an excellent, perfectly matched set right there. Oh yeah. Future Tops of America, untie. I've already got the finger joints correctly done for this side. So it's a beautiful thing. Look at this. And now all I got to do is do finger joints on this side, and there's a few ways to do it, and I'm still researching what I want to do. All right, I found me another period correct tube cover in my tube stash. I don't know where the heck I get some of this stuff. I just accumulate it. Anyways, it's got all 6 of them now. And I got these Kenrad, really cool Kenrad tubes in there. So I'm just going to put this off the bench. This is ready to go and really focus on some other projects at hand, including the cabinet. My wife asked me, why is my car on the parking deck? Well, I'm finally sick of doing box joints, so I'm in the middle of making this finger joint, Acme finger joint kit. Alrighty, it's going to be really sweet. I'm going to just take my cabinet making to another level here. Alrighty then. I'm not affiliated with Music Nomad, but I do like their products. Here's some nastiness on this reverb bag, and look at the other side. It was worse. So yeah, it really does clean up vinyl nicely. I'm going to do this side. Let's see what we're going to do about that. Look at this once clean rag. Oh yeah. And like magic, it's cleaned. Now, I'm probably just gonna hand stitch this. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do, George. Just gonna hand stitch it. It's a pain in the butt, but you know what? My sewing machine won't drill through all that, so. You know, I hate sewing things by hand, but I can do it. And I gotta thank my dearly departed mom for teaching me how to do it as a kid. As a child, that is. I was never a baby goat, but I was a small human, which is a child. So yeah, I'm going to use this heavy-duty carpet thread, and then I'm going to dye it black when I'm done. I didn't have any black carpet thread, and this stuff is nice and strong. So anyways, this is coming out good. Thanks, Mom. Not too bad. Now I'll see what a little Sharpie action can do here. Now you have to look pretty close to know that's not original. Not bad at all. So according to the CE distribution site where I got this little bug, the side with the dot is the optical side, which is how these resistors work. These bugs work, and that side is the resistor side. So that's the proper way to install it, is the white dot is the indicator here. And here it is properly installed with the white dot indicating the optical side of this little crazy little unit. So I'm going to fire it up and see if that fixed the tremolo. I got my fingers firmly crossed. Okay, I got the amp hooked back up to my 8-ohm shop speaker. I got this shorted out over here, the pedal to simulate a switch, and got the signal coming in. And let's just turn the intensity up. Looks like that fixed it. There's the speed. Now I'm going to do a little mod that I like, and that is Uncle Doug demonstrates this. You take and put a tap at 01 in here on one of these to slow. I usually do the middle one, and it slows it down to a more swampy feel. So I'm going to do that for this little sucker, because I have never had complaints yet about that. Here's a 01, and it's at 1 kV, 1000 volts. Make sure when you do this that you use a high voltage cap here, because I think that's a fairly high voltage. I think it's like 100 or 200 volts or something there. And make sure, of course, you drain your caps if you've been testing it. And you can just tack this in, and if you don't like it, you can untack it. Okay, I got that 0.01 tacked in there. And that's at the highest speed, which was almost unintelligible before. That's still quite usable in my opinion. And here's, oh sorry, that was the slowest speed. Don't hear much difference, to be honest with you. I'm going to try changing positions on it. Okay, I've got an 02 tacked in there. I like it better. That's the slowest position right there. dialing it up. That's the fastest position. I like that. I'm going to install this permanently, or semi-permanently. Nothing's permanent in this material universe. But I dig that. There, now I've tacked that in there. So it doesn't leap out at you and jar the senses like a nun in a cat house. Yeah, kind of like that. And be careful not to burn this like I did a little bit there. That was stupid, but hey. Anyways, that's where it goes. I'm going to give it one more test just to make sure it works the way I thought. Yeah, nice and slow. And that's the slowest, which is going to be dizzying. And I'm gradually turning it up. That's about the halfway point. And that's all the way up. I like that. It's much more usable, in my opinion. You can always pop it out if you don't like it. All right, onward. So I've been horsing around with my new Acme finger joiner 45, and some of the stuff was coming out kind of wacky, and now I just did a test, and this is what I'm looking for right here. Here's a quick glance at my rig. Pretty cool. I'm actually going to put a link to the YouTube guy that showed how to make this thing. Well, it's a wet, cold, rainy day here in St. Louis. And first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to try and get this thing off in as one piece as possible, soaking it a little bit to loosen that glue up, and then I'm going to try a heat gun and tapping. Let's see how that goes. Meanwhile, I've got a piece wedged in here, and I'm going to clamp it on the side so it doesn't spring apart. Okay, I'm happy to say that I have routed the fingers and they line up perfectly. Look at that. Now I got to cut the angle of the front to match that angle, and I'm going to do that on the table saw. And like magic, there's the cut. Freaking perfect! Oh yeah. I'm gonna bring it inside. First I'm gonna clean, it's too cold to dry glue out here. So next step, bring it inside, couple of clamps, long clamps. Clean out these old slots with a file. Just clean them up so they get a nice glue contact. And then glue that sucker down. That sure is looking nice. The only other thing I got to do is I got to get some aluminum screen. I got to go pick up some aluminum screen and staple it under there with my new beautiful staple gun. And then I'm going to glue this down. Before I put the screen on, I'm just going to give it a light coat of black, front and back. Let that dry. All right, well, I got myself a nice piece of screening at Lowe's, and I'll be honest, I almost walked out. They don't take cash anymore, and they didn't have anything but self-checkout. It's probably the last time I'm going in there anytime soon. So, I'm using this staple gun. And as I'm using it, I'm thinking, baby, where you been all my life? Oh, I love this thing. All right. And that's that. Time for glue. I say, time for glue. That's a beautiful thing. Ah, yeah. Well, I couldn't resist doing a dry fit. And it fits perfect. Got just enough room in there for the Tolex. So far, so good. And so now this poor, sad top is ending its journey from the concrete jungle of Southern California in 1964, relegated to the dust heap of yesterday's memories. It's going to burn nicely in my fire pit, because I am going to burn it. I'm glad the rest of the cabinet wasn't similarly affected. Synchronistic. Talk about synchronistic. I was hoping for someone to throw an old door out in the alley, and they obliged me just about when I needed some nice vintage plywood, because that crap at Home Depot is barely good enough to start a fire. So I've cut these two panels out to replace the one that was missing and the other one that was pretty much rotted inside. And yeah, I got that old Tolex from that mid-60s Fender. I'm gonna cut this with my jigsaw and get to covering them. Alrighty. That'll do, pig. That'll do. That'll do, pig. That'll do. And in case you were wondering, I do have these original 64 deluxe panels that I'm copying. And once again, I reiterate, that'll do, pig. That'll do. And now, with a feeling of nostalgia and regret, I consign these two worm-eaten, termite-ridden pieces to my backyard fire something or other, fire container. Bye-bye. Here I am, gluing the original Tolex to the new vintage 1920s plywood. Pretty cool. Onward. All right, here we are. If my voice sounds funny, it's because I'm wearing a mask to avoid the fumes from this toxic, nasty stuff. It's good for you, though. They wouldn't let you buy this if it was bad for you to breathe. Anyways, this is a original 60s Tolex. I'm making the upper panel completely from scratch using some 1920s plywood that I scavenged out of the alley, and I scavenged this out of a big giant solid state Fender cabinet from the mid-60s. Once again, for those in the back, a hoarder does what? Saves useless shit. And a pack rat does what? Saves good shit. Okay, I know the wives hate it, but they like it. They like the money. And when you sell this nice restored stuff, And if you married a civilian, oh well. I didn't. My sweetheart is very understanding of all this. Onward. And like magic, old one and new one. Which is which? This is the original one. This is the new one with original Tolex on it. I followed the folds that the old one had. Not too bad. All right. All right, so I've gone around and glued all the everything back down that was peeling up and funky, and now I'm ready to glue this top back on. I'm ready to glue this top back on to the new top, the top Tolex original. So what I do is first I just glue the flat with Titebond, and then I'm going to glue down all the way around with the contact cement after it dries 24 hours. All right, there we got the top portion glued down. Just gonna let that sit up overnight and then glue all these wings down with contact cement. It's kind of what I've been doing down here. I've been using contact cement on here, and you know, it works really well. I like contact cement. You know, I know they used hide glue, but you know, hide glue is not really super convenient. It's a little ratty in the front here, but I glued it all down. So yeah, onward. All right, man, that contact cement clamped overnight really tightly, really does it. Now I'm going to put staples. There were staples in here, and I'm going to staple it back down per fender. All right, and this last side to glue down here. All righty. All right, well, I've cleaned this thing up about as much as I can. It's looking pretty good. It's time to actually start thinking about putting it back together. So I guess I'll put the handle on. All right, got the original T-nuts back in with a liberal use of 3-in-1 oil. Not 4-in-1 oil, 3-in-1 oil. And like magic, the handle's back on. Next, the grill. All right, got the grill screwed in with some, sorry for the camera work, some old new stock screws and fender washers. Yeah, baby. All righty. See, the original feet were long gone. They were these little metal stud things. So I found some more old new stock, or new old stock, or whatever. And pay no attention to that other Deluxe Reverb in the background there. So yeah, I got these rubber feet. I like it. Now then, for a speaker, taking one for the team. A very cool 1960 Jensen P12N, reconed by the famous Orange County speaker quite some years ago. So we'll see how that sounds. I looked in Wikipedia for the word nestle, and I saw this picture. All right. Next up, the reverb tank. And new old stock screws and fender washers here. And make sure when you drill in this end that you drill through the reverb wires. Not, these are original, back in their original holes. Alrighty, onward. I don't know if you recall, but I made this back baffle out of old recycled, upcycled plywood from an Art Deco door and 60s Fender Deluxe that I robbed off a solid state. Higher and best usage, yes. Oh yeah, it's looking good so far. I'm going to take a little pause for the cause here. And yeah, gotta go work. This is fun. I gotta go work. And got the bottom panel glued on. Alrighty. Screwed, not glued. I knew that. Alright. Looking good with original Tolex. Okay, before I screw the top panel back on, of course, I'm going to have to hunt up a right angle plug and make a little pigtail, as they call it, for the speakers. Speaker. This'll have to do, pig. This'll have to do. Alrighty, so I got this sucker all put back together, properly biased, tubes matched, and I'm going to start it out right around 5 on the volume, treble, bass. Reverb's at about 3.5, tremolo speeds at about 5, intensities at 10. Just to kind of, you know, get it going here and let you know what it sounds like. Hang on, let me turn the axe up. Sorry about the buzzing. I'm in the basement. The wife's not home, and I got the volume pegged. The treble's at about 7, bass is at about 5. No reverb, no tremolo. As you can hear, this amp is quiet as a mouse. Well, not quite a mouse, but anyways, the amp works great, sounds great. It's a Resurrection, a Phoenix, a what have you, restored back into the workforce of Fender amplifiers. Alrighty then, thanks for watching, hope this helps.